Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with the visibility in the algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. It's one of the best and easiest ways to support me, and I would be incredibly grateful. Without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of Get Up, where RG3 is calling out Jerry Jones, essentially, right? There's been this big debate about what's going on with the Cowboys. Is it Dak? Is it McCarthy? Is it Jerry? And he's saying Dak is not the issue, that Jerry Jones is. I'm curious to see what his reasoning for that is. I get the logic and I get the argument in a lot of ways, but to act like that Dak is just not an issue at all is pretty comical from my standpoint. And RG3 always, universally defends the players. So I really want to hear what he has to say and what some of his logic is.
Answer was, if you pay a quarterback $60 million a year, he's willing to deal with anybody's mother or brother or any other family member. So I don't think Dak's really worried about that. He knows that as the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, that the scrutiny comes with it. I think Dak has proven that he can be the quarterback for the Cowboys to go win a Super Bowl. I think he played at an MVP level the majority of the year last year. So Dak Prescott isn't necessarily the issue. The issue is Jerry Jones and the culture that he has created there for the Dallas Cowboys. If you really think about this, that star on the helmet has become more notorious for getting guys into big broadcast positions post-playing career than it has for them to win a Super Bowl on the field in the last 25, 30 years. So for me, with Jerry Jones, he has to first admit that there is a problem and that culture that's been created is that the fact that the Dallas Cowboys have been killing the ratings. I mean, we talk about them on TV. You got people making fun of them on TV, and it just skyrockets. People love to watch. But I think the Dallas Cowboys have become the anti-Floyd Mayweather, right? People watched Floyd Mayweather as a boxer because they wanted to see him lose. But Floyd never lost. And the Cowboys simply never win. They go into hibernation when it's time to be able to win when it matters in January, let alone get into February. They got to figure out a way to allow a coach to come in there. I know Mike McCarthy is going to be the coach this year, but I think a coach that can challenge Jerry Jones and make him uncomfortable is the only way that the Cowboys are going to get over that hump. Right now, they're too cuddly like teddy bears, especially when it comes to the line of scrimmage.
Okay. This makes no sense, okay? Because people argue that the Cowboys have this winning culture, that they've won, 12 games, 3 seasons in a row, and that's how great. And Dak is great, and the Cowboys are great, but then they lose, and then that's somehow on Jerry Jones. Now, I don't want to turn this into me defending Jerry, because Jerry, I think, has made mistakes, but in just this specific context. If the Cowboys are this great team that they then underperform in the playoffs, how is that Jerry Jones' fault? Are you saying that Jerry Jones needs to get a better coach? That he needs to get better players? Like what is it? The players that they have are good enough to win all these games, but they need to play better? If Dak Prescott was playing at an MVP level last season, which I disagree with, that then they went into the playoffs and then he lost, that's Jerry Jones' fault? How? How is that possible? If you wanted to say that Jerry Jones created such a pressure cooker situation where every single player and coach felt that they were going to be thrown to the wolves and have them, be thrown under the bus and fired and cut and this and that and never working in the NFL ever again. And so every time they get into these intense moments in the playoffs that they just can't do it and they just, crack under the pressure, sure, we can blame Jerry Jones. But if you want to say that Jerry Jones has built teams around where they're winning in the regular season, and Dak Prescott's supposed to be this great. If Dak has no one to blame, and the blame isn't on him, and he's got CeeDee Lamb, and he's got a great offensive coach, and had a good OC, years past, and has been playing like an MVP, and the defense is great. You got Dan Quinn, and a great coach who's now a head coach. Then what's the problem? How are you blaming Jerry Jones in that situation where all these things are great? You had essentially one of the best defensive coordinators who was a head coach worthy, but just, was a defensive coordinator. You have Super Bowl winning Mike McCarthy. Okay. You have Dak Prescott, who's apparently MVP level quarterback. You have one of the best defensive players in Micah Parsons. CeeDee Lamb, one of the best wide receivers. How is this on Jerry Jones then? This cuddly culture? Like, what do you? I don't even know what that means, honestly. Like, now the Cowboys are too cuddly for each other, and that's why they're not winning. That's why they play terrible in the playoffs. That's why Dak Prescott has a losing record against winning teams. That's the difference. They're just not good enough, okay? Dak Prescott wasn't playing like an MVP last season. Dak Prescott was feasting off of bad teams. That's the reality of the situation, okay? I've said this again and again and again, and I can't wait for next season where we can move off this, because the Cowboys only beat bad teams last season, except for the Detroit Lions, which was this crazy freak thing where they the whole thing with a 2-point conversion, okay? And even if you want to say that had nothing to do with anything and that the Cowboys deserved that win, fine, congratulations. You beat a winning team with the winning record at home. Good job. The only other team that you beat with the winning record were the Eagles, when the Eagles could have literally had only 6 wins. They were a disaster, okay? They were not a good team last season. They were also inflated, and it was fool's gold, okay? And when the Cowboys beat them, it was when the Eagles lost to the 49ers, the Giants, the Cardinals. So again, like, what are you saying here? Like, you really want to pat on the back for beating the Eagles when the Eagles were losing to the Giants and the Cardinals? So, and they're getting walloped by the 49ers? I mean, if you want to congratulate yourselves for winning that game, then congratulations. But that's not that special. There's nothing to be proud about in that regard. So again, the Cowboys and Dak Prescott were fool's gold last season. They just were. So this idea that they're really great, if they were really that great, then why did they get dominated by the Packers? And if you want to say that they're actually that great and they got dominated by the Packers, please tell me how that's Jerry Jones' fault. Tell me how Jerry Jones had anything to do with the fact that Dak Prescott played terrible, that the defense was terrible, that Dak could just not get on the same page as CeeDee Lamb, that Mike McCarthy called a weird game. Like, how is that Jerry Jones' fault? Please tell me. It's not. It's just not. If you want to say that Jerry needs to build a better team, that Jerry should have been more aggressive before the trade deadline, that he should have tried to make a play to get, Derrick Henry or someone, which I don't think would have made that big of a difference, but, made other moves, sure. I can get behind that, right? But a lot of people who blame Jerry for why they're losing often say it's because, he needs to get a better quarterback, or he needs to be more aggressive with Dak, or he needs to, move on from Mike McCarthy. And if that's the case, then that would mean that Dak is partly to blame then, that it is part of his fault. Because what else does Dak need now? Can Dak only win with the 49ers roster and an Andy Reid as their head coach? Because I don't understand. Their roster, the Cowboys are supposed to be stacked, and you have a coach that has proven to be able to win. But yet, come time playoffs, nothing. You get embarrassed. You look like you've never played football before in your life. That Cowboys game against the Packers was one of the most mind-blowing. Seriously, that was one of the craziest games I've ever watched in my history of a fan watching football. I couldn't believe it, honestly. I was so blown away by that game. So this idea that there's no blame, that Dak isn't any part of the Cowboys' issue, is kind of comical when you really think about it, or that it's just all on Jerry. The truth is that Dak is culpable. McCarthy's culpable. Jerry Jones is culpable. Mike is culpable. They're all part to blame. So if at the end of the day you want to say, well, hey, Jerry Jones is the conductor, he's the one that put all these guys together, and if they're all the problem, then it's him. That's fine. But you can't say that Dak is not a problem. He's not part of the problem, because he obviously is. Okay? If Brock Purdy can step up in the playoffs and do big things and win big games in big moments, if Jalen Hurts can step up big and do big things and win big moments, if Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, even Trevor Lawrence, if all these other quarterbacks can step up and win tough games against tough teams. Doesn't mean that they're all Super Bowl winners. Doesn't mean that they're all MVPs. Doesn't mean that they're all perfect and flawless. But if they can do it despite perfect circumstances, then you got to ask yourself, why can't Dak do it? And yet you want to keep paying Dak all this money. You want to keep paying Dak $60 million. You want to pay him more than Patrick Mahomes, yet you want him to win like Patrick Mahomes. How does that make sense? He's not better than Patrick Mahomes, yet you pay him more than Patrick Mahomes, and then you want him to win like Patrick Mahomes. Or you want to blame everyone else as to why he doesn't win like Patrick Mahomes. That's a head scratcher. That does not make sense. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Please let me know them in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.